Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the UnLearnT podcast. This is your host, Jaquita Ross, and we are back for another episode of the second act, friends. This is the place where we come to reflect on where we've been so we can redefine our now and hopefully, prayerfully, rewrite our next. I am here, you guys, with a incredibly special guest. She is so dear to my heart. I hope she knows that in every way. She is a friend, she is a sister, she is a wife. Okay, she is a citizen of the kingdom of the Lord our God. Okay, she's a minstrel. All right, she is a mentor to many. And she is just a lovely and wonderfully sweet person. I want to introduce you all to sweet, sweet Michaela. Say hey, Michaela.
Hello, everybody.
Yes. Y'all listen, there are people that when you meet them, you are just immediately drawn to them. Right. In one of my previous roles, Michaela and I started in the same center around the same time within like a month of each other, I think. Yeah, and it was so but as soon as I saw her, I was like, she's one of mine. I don't I don't care who she worked for. I don't care what's going on. She's one of mine. And I gotta figure out how to let her know that. But Michaela is an force, an absolute force to be reckoned with, both inside the school and outside the school. I think that there are so many people that can testify of how just powerful not only her story is, but her character, her spirit, her persona, everything that she carries, the spirit of God that she carries on the inside of her has impacted so many. And I just really cannot wait to introduce you guys to her beautiful story. Michaela, how you feeling today, girl?
I'm feeling so great. I'm honored to be here. I'm excited. Jaquita gave so many words and to introduce me, and it's amazing, and it feels so great coming from you. And it was just prophetic when you said she'll be one of mine. I was just like, she doesn't even know what she was speaking. And so because there's so much in that I'm excited for us to unpack, that I became
Yeah.
one.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
So that's good to
Listen.
me, and yeah, I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy to be in the number.
Listen, I
Yes.
told Michaela before this started that this might be my churchiest episode yet. All right, so she's not here, but I'm gonna apologize to Ruth Abigail right now. Okay, for my other UnLearnT podcast host, because I'm about to be as churchy as can be on this one. Because Michaela will bring it out of you. Okay, her joy for the Lord is just infectious. Listen, we're gonna cut up real bad, y'all. I want to let y'all know right now.
Yes.
Michaela, I want you to know, honestly and truly, when I set forth to begin this new segment, you were literally the first person I thought of as a guest.
Wow.
I knew that your story was the type of stories that I wanted to tell, that I felt other people needed to know and to hear. And the power of how God moved you. I mean, swiftly, okay, which we're gonna talk about. Swiftly and completely. It wasn't, like to a place where there's no residue. And I really just want to introduce people to the power of God through your story. So let's start. Let's start at whatever beginning you want to start. If for those of you who are just joining us, and it might be your first time watching the second act, listen, this segment of the UnLearnT series, UnLearnT podcast, is all about telling the stories of people and how God has moved them from the places where we were introduced to the world, where we were introduced to ourselves in our first act, where we had periods of exploration and periods of self-learning and self-discovery, and experience challenges, experience trials and triumphs. that
Yeah.
eventually the Lord pulled us away from in an intermission where he got us to
Yeah.
himself. He began to make changes in our lives because when you go backstage, that's where the change
Mm,
happens, right? When you go
come
to the
on.
dark of the backstage and the light from the stage is
Mm.
not shining on you, and God is able to do some
Ooh,
things in the back before he
yeah.
launches you out to your second act. And so, if you haven't watched the any of our other episodes yet, that's what we are about. We are about showing the power of God moves through the different acts of our lives. And so,
Yeah.
Michaela, set the scene for us, right? What was pre-intermission, Michaela? What was Michaela's first act like? And feel free
Yeah.
to start your story at whatever point you want to.
Yes, as oh, that was so beautiful. That was what a scene. Um as you were talking, I was just over here praying, like there was just so much that happened in Act One.
Yeah,
And it began super, super early when I'm thinking back through that first moment when I had a realization about myself. And I would
wow.
say it started, I'm from a small town, Georgetown, South
Come on,
Carolina.
Georgetown. Straight
Georgetown,
up
South Carolina.
Georgetown.
Yes, yes. And if you know anything about Georgetown, South Carolina, there's not much. There's not much there. It's a very small city. We got a Walmart. That's the mall.
My Lord.
That's where we do, that's where we do our shopping.
My
Um
Lord.
but a lot of people talk about, this small town mindset, and they speak a lot about things like that, and I think some of that can reign true, right? And I believe being in spaces like that, um when there's like a group think that's happening, right?
Ooh, yeah,
That started for me very, very early. And so I believe since about high school was the first time that I realized that I had a voice, right?
yeah,
And so I did things like the cheerleading and the homecoming pageants and Miss Georgetown High School. And I was winning these things. And I just told somebody
sure.
about I just told someone about a month ago that I was winning all of these things and I was in all these spaces and the organizations and things, but there was depression there. I would have a crown on and I'm
Wow.
smiling in so many spaces, and I'd get home and I'd be in an empty space. It'd be alone. It was my thoughts were going crazy. The space was empty. And it was just dark. It was
Wow.
lonely. And so when I think about Act One, it was a phase of um being so consumed with everything that was happening around me and being so
Yeah,
concerned with what are the other students going to think, what are my peers thinking of me, how can I be more like them. And it was driving me crazy, honestly. I didn't
yeah,
know that at the time. But my mask was to win as many things as possible. That's where I'm gonna feel
wow.
like I matter. That's where mattering is gonna come from the validation of the people around me.
Ooh,
Their votes will matter. Them cheering in the crowd. Go Michaela is going to matter. Literally have more crowns and trophies than I can think of, and it
wow.
meant nothing. It meant absolutely nothing because behind the mask of she's winning everything was a dark and depressed girl,
My
like super,
Lord.
super dark and depressed. And so when I think about that small Georgetown mindset, I feel that I was just in this phase of um, how do I fit? How do I just fit
Mm,
what other people need me to be, or even what I thought I was supposed to be for myself, and
yeah,
not fully having the full understanding of what purpose actually means, and thinking purpose meant the validation of other people, whether that be relationships from teachers, from friends, or the people around me. So it was a lot of trying to understand mattering, and that started from a very, very early age.
Wait a minute, because that is so good. It was a lot of trying to understand mattering,
Mm.
right? Because
Mm.
when I think about my own journey through those youthful times, right? It was
Yeah.
this constant fight for a feeling of worth, right?
Yeah.
A
Oof.
feeling of somebody's gonna see me. And
Mm.
what you're describing as that darkness, I think I would have
Yeah.
described as a hollowness. Like there is
Ooh,
something empty and I'm pouring
empty.
out, waiting for
Ooh.
somebody else to pour in so that I can feel full, right?
Yes.
And it
Yes.
was this but it's like there wasn't any pour that
Mm.
could fill
Yeah.
kind of this enormous well on the inside of me.
Ooh.
Because when you
Yeah.
talk about a well, that well has to bubble up from in
Mm.
you. You can't pour into a well and try to fill it
Right.
up. If the well is
Wow.
dry, you cannot get enough of these water bottles to pour into that well to restart it, right? You got to
Mm.
find an underground source. You got to tap
Yes.
into something that will bubble up on the inside of you.
Mm.
And I
Come
love
on.
how you
Come
tell the
on.
story of how you were reaching for these things,
Yeah.
right? You were reaching for these awards and these trophies and these celebrations and this external validation, right? To pour into an empty cup, right?
Yeah.
I'm wondering what community looked like for you then, what friendship
Mm.
looked like for you in
Yeah.
those spaces.
Yeah. Um, again, when I that's such a good question because it was so fleeting. It was very
Mm,
fleeting because when I think about just trying to be a person trying to fit, when you're trying to fit in all different types of spaces, you're constantly shifting and you can't just be one. You, you- you're not just comfortable in who you are
yeah,
because you don't know. You don't know who you are because in every space, in
yeah.
every conversation, from the home life with your cousins, with friends, cheerleading squad, like I said, I was in a lot of different organizations, but there was this constant shifting of persona and who I was showing up to be. Um, it was fleeting,
Ooh.
very fleeting.
When you think about, but see, that's so, and people don't realize that that's what they're experiencing,
Mm.
especially in those, on this podcast, we talk a lot about being a middle adult. Okay. Michaela has not quite yet made it to her middle adult years. Okay. I did want to introduce y'all to my young adult population. Okay. I know
Yes.
she's wise. I know she's rooted and grounded, and y'all are going to hear her and be like, oh, this woman, that's the
It's
Holy Ghost. Okay.
all
And that is just really, really deeply authentic, real experiences
mm,
that have really
yeah,
grounded her in God. But Michaela
yeah,
is a youngin', okay? Um, to me, to me to me. Okay. But we talk a lot about, the things that we learned in our 20s,
mm,
that we had to unlearn in order to be
yeah,
successful in our middle adult years. And I
yeah,
honestly think Michaela skipped some grades. I'm not even gonna lie to y'all. Sometimes I feel like I'm talking to Michaela like she's a mentee, like let me pour. And then other times I'm looking at her like this girl got it. She just has it. But I think it's so interesting, the idea of the shifting,
mm,
of the because you're trying to find placement in a place, in relationships, and in communities where you may not actually belong, but
ooh,
because you haven't been introduced to you yet. You know what I'm
wow,
saying? You have
yes,
not yet met the real you. And so
right,
you feel unsettled, right?
right,
But what I love about God is it doesn't matter what your life circumstances are, and y'all, I move this ring around on different fingers. Okay, I promise you, we're not doing like I was about to say a name, but that's real rude. We're not doing those edits and cuts. The ring fits on every finger, so it's gonna be it's my little nervous tick. But what I love about God is that God, as our creator and as our father,
Mm,
there are glimpses. It
mm,
doesn't matter what state you're in, because sometimes when we recall our stories, we think about, the dark. We think about,
yeah,
but there were always glimpses. What were your
yes,
glimpses in the first act that were kind of foreshadowing where you were going?
yeah. Well, one, as you were talking, it reminded me, my husband and I were just talking, we were reading
My husband.
Ecclesiastes, and and there was this one part in Ecclesiastes that stood out to me, and it says that he places eternity in all of our hearts. And I was asking for him to reveal a little bit more. And so as he's revealing, it reminded me that all of us, like you said, we there's this void. There's this void, and we're looking, a lot of times we're looking for something to be filled, something to fill that void, right? Which that only God can fill, right? And so
Yeah.
I'm over here, and even in talking and discussing the fact that in so many places, even though I felt like I was fluid, I'm realizing now that I was trying to be filled by people who could never fill what only God could. And so I'm over
Wow.
here thankful. The glimpse for me is the fact that there was no person, no substance, nothing, no experience that could fill that void that only God could fill. That's a glimpse enough for me, the fact that nothing could do what only he
Mm,
can. And
yeah.
so that that was one of the things that stood out to me, that only God filled what I was looking for. He was the only one that could truly do it. Not even my
Yeah.
husband. Only God could fill that void in this eternity, in this searching that I needed to be whole, right? So it was that I would definitely
Yeah.
say that. Um on Sunday I was talking to the church and telling them in college I had a suicide attempt, and
Mm,
um and I remember being in my dorm room, and that whole day I wasn't talking to any friends. I wasn't really responding to anyone, and I had it in my head that that day was going to be the day. And I had a pill bottle, and the pill bottle is in my hand. All the doors are closed. I'm in my dorm. I'm the only one who lives in. I was an RA at the time, and so I was the
mm,
only one in that room. I have this pill bottle in my hand, and I'm I'm talking myself up to this moment that this now is the time. I've done all I can do. I'm tired. I feel helpless. I'm in a place that I
mm,
don't know what else I have left, and I was just hurting. I was in it was just a rough space for me, mentally, physically, emotionally.
mm.
And again, purpose was something that I kept searching for, but I couldn't find or I couldn't understand. And so when I was at that state of helplessness, I had these pills in my hand and I'm getting ready to consume them all. One of the
Wow.
girls who was reaching out to me that day busts through the door. Jaquita, this door was locked. My door was locked. Okay. To this day, I don't know
Wow.
how she got through that door. She walks through the door. She walks over to me. She looks in my hand. She snatches the pill bottle and all of the pills and walks out the door.
Jesus. Jesus.
All I could do was sit there in awe. And at the time I did not know. I grew up in church, so I had an idea of God, but I didn't know him for myself. There was no
Mhm.
relationship. And so I didn't know at the time that there was a glimpse of God and him reaching for me. all I saw was my friend came into the room and snatched what was trying to kill me, or what I tried to use to kill myself.
Yeah.
And when you talked about glimpses, that's the one thing that sticks out to me, because the devil, this mother told me, the devil, his job is to still kill and destroy, right? But
Absolutely.
he can't kill what God has his hand on. And
Yeah.
he knew who I was called to be, even though I didn't know for myself. He knew who I was called to be, or how God was going to use me. And so he had my mind so gone, so consumed by the things of this world, so consumed with even me trying to discover my purpose, and so down in this idea of helplessness, that there was this thought to do it myself. Suicide was common to me. The suicide ideation was a
Jesus.
common thought to me. It was
Yeah.
not this weird thought or phrase. I thought about it daily. It was a daily thought for me.
Wow.
And so it was so common to me that I was ready at any time to take that step into suicide and death and dying. And every time I think about that moment, I know that God was all up in that. He was all up in that. Um,
I
yeah,
mean, it's like the angels bust through the prison doors, honey. Okay,
bust through the
rolled the
prison.
stone away on your behalf, and
Yes.
I'm grateful because your life, the life that the enemy wanted you to abort, has been used to carry
Mm,
so many others through, not maybe not through the same pain, but to carry people through their pain. And I know a
yeah,
lot of people talk about how the Lord will use what you've been through, it's part of
right.
your purpose. But death was
Yeah.
never a part of your purpose, but life
Woo.
always was. And I'm grateful that God preserved what he put on the inside of you, because what he put
Mm,
in you was life. He
yeah,
put it in you that you would have life, and that you would have it more abundantly, and that you would be able
abundantly.
to
Woo.
teach other people how to walk
Yeah.
in life and to walk in light. He put life
Mm,
and light inside of you. Y'all, when I would be in a big meeting and they would say, "Okay, it's time to introduce yourself." I used to be the brightest star, okay? Because I had the vibes and the energy, and I knew I could pep a crowd up until I met Michaela. And Michaela would get in a mic in front of a crowd, and literally everybody starts beaming and smiling, and I'm like, that used to be me. And, to be honest, when I met Michaela and when I saw how she worked and how people gravitated
mm,
to her and how they corralled
mm,
around her, and before, and we'll talk about kind of the timing of things. I mean, before,
yeah,
during, and after all of her processes, there was
yeah.
always life and light on the inside of you.
Mm,
The enemy wasn't after you for nothing. You get what I'm
oof,
saying? Like, he wanted to
yeah.
introduce the opposite of your gift to you. And he
Wow.
constantly berated you with the opposite of who you were. Because again,
Mm,
life and light. That's what's inside of Michaela.
mm,
And that's what Michaela gives to everyone that she comes in contact with. Right. And
ooh,
I really want to take a moment, because there are people who experience things on different levels. And it may not be at the level
yeah,
that Michaela experienced it at, but everybody has experienced, especially in our first act, those seasons of
yeah.
doubt, those seasons of fear, those seasons
Mm,
of why, and if God sees, if God knows, if God's here. And I want to be a voice, and I want Michaela's voice to be a voice in this moment that reassures you that what's inside of you is greater than what's coming against you, right? And
Jesus.
whatever voice is whispering to you, right, that is
Mhm.
telling you that you're not worthy, that you're not good enough, that life is not worth it, I want you to know that there is a voice. And just like there was an angel that came and bust into Michaela's room, I want to bust into your room right now. I want to
Come
bust into
on.
those thoughts that are berating you. I want to bust into
Come
those
on.
thoughts that have been covering over your mind, that have been trying to barricade God's voice in your life. And I want to tell you, I want to snatch what the enemy is trying to use against you and tell you that
Mm,
your life right now is worth it. I don't care where you are.
yeah,
I don't care what you've done. I don't care where you feel that you are. Your life is worth
yeah,
it. Your life
yeah,
is worth it, not because of
it
anything
is.
that you're going to do in the future, but simply because you're loved. Simply
Yeah.
because you are loved by a God, you are loved by a
Mm,
people, and we need you in this earth. We need
yeah.
you. I need you. I need you.
Mm,
If you don't hear it from
yeah.
anybody else, because I can definitely sit here and tell Michaela today that I need her,
Yeah.
that she's needed, that she's loved, and she's wanted. And so I didn't want to let
Mhm.
that moment pass us by.
That's
Okay, I
good
did
to
not want
me.
that moment.
That's good to
Yeah,
me.
I didn't want that moment because, Michaela, when I met you, and
Mm,
me and Michaela, we talk a lot about, spiritual matters. Okay,
yeah.
because we're both very aligned, okay, in what we see, know, and understand. Okay, we
Yeah.
we are both
Yeah.
very aligned. Okay. And I promise you, when I looked at Michaela, I saw, when I first met you, I saw, the way you dressed, and I saw the way you carried yourself. It's funny to me because, again, I was an adult. They used to call me one of the adults in the space,
Yeah.
because I started as a middle adult in that space, and they were all like 25 and 26.
Yep.
But I remember seeing past everything that you were presenting when you
Mm,
first got there. And I knew
mm,
immediately the light that was in you and the goodness that
mm.
was on the inside of you, to the point to where I almost couldn't see. And, like, I'm usually a person that sees and knows, but there was so, like, what God had put inside of you was so much stronger than the life that
Mm.
you were living at that moment. It was so
Yeah.
much, his light in you was always so much brighter. And I
Wow.
think if people really knew, especially in that first act, how other people really see them,
Yeah.
because I don't think that's how you saw yourself in that moment.
No. No, not at all. As you were talking, I look back and I think it again just goes to what was around me, what was I consuming, who were the voices in my
Mm,
head. You were talking about the voices telling us what to kill ourselves or to do this. You got to protect your ear gates, you got to protect what you want. And I just remember, even in attire, I was trying to fit what voices were telling me, what how I should look, what I should
wow.
wear, what I should.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. And so no, I didn't see at all. I didn't. I knew deep inside that I was constantly trying to fit, but I didn't know that me trying to fit, because people have tried to um describe belonging in a way that just means how do we fit with other people, rather than helping us get to the internal piece first. There's an internal belonging and mattering that has to matter before you get into another space. You're never going to feel like you belong or you matter in other spaces until it happens inside first. It has to be a
Yeah.
inside work before you
Yeah.
can go out and do and
Yeah.
belong elsewhere. And I knew that I didn't necessarily feel belonging or mattering. And so when that is the case, you are just going to try to fit. And so no, I didn't see anything that you were talking about. I didn't, I didn't see any of that. I
I
just
you
knew that
know
I was uncomfortable.
Listen, it's so interesting to me, when we think about ideas of purpose and identity, and how those
Mm,
thoughts of who we are and what we're
mm,
supposed to be doing, how those thoughts are built, as we
yeah.
walk through our journey. And it sounds like, on your journey to finding mattering, which I'm
Yeah.
stealing that whole concept, FYI, because when
Feel it.
maybe
Feel
we
it.
can co-write a little book about it. Okay. Write an
Like it.
article or
I like
something
I
because
like it.
yeah. No, 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 for real, for real, for real. We'll sidebar that. Y'all be looking
Right.
out. Me and Michaela, we're gonna have a little something come out about mattering. Okay.
Come
Um,
on.
Listen, it's good to me. It is good to me. But when you think about kind of that journey
Mm,
to figuring out who you are,
yeah.
that's such a big question, especially
Mm,
during those college years.
yeah.
It's such a huge undertaking to
Yeah.
go on that journey to finding that. And what I find is that by the time I meet students, I always said that college is the age of differentiation, right? It's the
Mm,
age where you're no longer being told who you are. It's time to start making decisions about who you're going to be, right? And
mm,
so you have
yeah.
to start, it is the age where we should start reflecting on some things, right? We should start
Yeah.
reflecting on where we've come from and what we've endured and what we want to
Mm,
carry with us and what we might
mm,
need to take off, what we may need to
yeah.
disrobe from, right? What we may
Mm,
need to submit to God in the fire. And college, I don't think most people think about college like that. Most people think
mm-mm.
college is the time where you are like out here, finding
Yeah.
yourself and living it
Yeah.
out. But I think that there's an opportunity here that when you have the
Mm,
right voices, when you get connected to the right people in college, it can be completely different than what everyone expects. Um,
yes. Oh,
I'm
yes.
I'm interested because so through college, we were still learning and discovering this idea of mattering, right? We were still
Yeah.
struggling with these ideas of wholeness, acceptance,
Yeah.
um, of life. Um,
Yeah.
After college, where do we go? What happened?
Yeah. Yeah. After college, bachelor's, I ended up in grad school. Um, and grad school spoke even more to just this trying to understand and discover self. And that was the period I got really into what they call the new age spirituality. And so the
Mhm.
collecting of the crystals and heavy witchcraft
Wow.
was very normal for me, and being in spaces. um so all of the, the tarot and all of that, those were all the
Mm,
spaces that I was in, because I believe that it was a quick fix in me trying to understand who I was.
yeah.
And it was catchy, and I was curious. And like you said, I'm in this space, in this stage of discovery, and so everything seemed cool. Everything. When you're not grounded in who you are, you want to do everything. And
Yeah.
so I was
Let me taste
so
that. Let
I'm
me touch that. Let me try that.
yes, yes, yeah. And not realizing that um those feelings were temporary highs. Temporary highs. I would have I'd
Mm,
have very high moments, and days later I'm still in this high, and then the suicidal thoughts, high and the suicidal. It's like very ebb and flow, just super excited and then depressed, and masking and depressed, and let me go on this stage here and tell everyone that it's okay not to be okay, and then I'm just like going through it and not
mm.
even believing anything that I'm saying, or not even really knowing truly what I was saying, just trying to figure out what was going to help me. But it was just really diving into this curiosity phase where I tried everything. I just wanted to try
Yeah.
everything. And grad school was also, I entered grad school in 2019, in fall of 2019. And in the spring of 2020, we all know that the pandemic hit. Okay. And that
And the
exposed
pandemic did indeed hit.
it hit. It hit and it
Mhm.
exposed. It was a year of exposure. It exposed where our minds were, where our hearts were, how close we were to God, how far we were from God. And this is not just
Wow.
in me as an individual. I believe that year exposed a lot in so many different
Mhm.
spaces. And the things that we consumed during that time. I think it was also supposed to be a year of, because in exposure, right? When you're uncovered, a lot of times either you gonna dress it up to try to mask something, or you're or in the exposure you're gonna lean into it and truly get to the root of what do I need, not just to be a mask or try to cover it up. um
Yeah.
but who do I need to walk into? What do I need to walk into in this time? And it was a year of exposure, and I just kept on going in that route of curiosity because I didn't want to deal with it. Right? It was like a
Mhm.
laundry pile, like I see it, but I'm just gonna toss it over here to the side. I'll deal with that another time, and it just kept piling up and piling up.
Mm.
Um,
Ah!
yeah, it was
So,
grad school. That time of my life was a lot.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, I'm wondering, as you're telling this story, and I'm seeing this kind of pivot point coming. Like, we're
Mm,
getting to the moment where the story's gonna shift. But
yeah,
when you talked about this idea of exposure, right?
yeah.
Was it What was that like for you? Was there uncomfortable truths? Were there
Mm,
revelations? Were there things that you knew you were going to have to start dealing with that you weren't yet ready
yeah,
to deal with? What did exposure look like?
yeah. Um, I sat in it for a while, in the in the uncomfortability of it. During that time, I also had just went through a breakup that was really rough. Um, and the guy actually told my mom some things about me, that, I needed to heal from, that I didn't know for myself. So a lot of times, what I've come to realize is that, like you said, we'll try to hide from things, or we'll think that we're not, just because we don't want to realize the truth about ourselves. It's not that people don't see it. It's just that we don't want to confront it. We don't
Mm,
want to
mm,
come to realize it.
yeah.
And so he actually shared some things with my mom. And during that time, I was living at home. And so her and I actually got a chance to speak. And so I I heard the truths about myself, but I didn't want to lean into it. I didn't want to do anything with it. And then it was coming from my mom. Like, I don't want to hear that, like, I
Yeah.
don't want to hear nothing she got to say,
Poor mama.
and right,
Poor
we
mama.
sometimes we in those, we like, I don't want to hear nothing my mama has to say. Um, but so yeah, that's exposure for me. Just look like, I might see a little bit what y'all are talking about, but no thanks. I don't want to touch that. I don't want to touch that.
Mm. But we don't want to touch it. But once it's been exposed, right? Like, once it's been put on the table, right? It's kind of now becoming the thing that you're having to avoid dealing with, right?
Yeah,
And so
yeah,
now it's not just, I can't say I didn't know, right? I can't say I
yeah.
I was never told. Right? Now
Ooh,
I I'm
yeah,
I'm either avoiding it, I'm making an active choice. I'm not dealing with
yeah,
that right now. Right?
yeah,
And
yeah.
as a person who has been told many uncomfortable truths about herself, that immediately, a lot of things went through my mind about how I'm gonna deal with this. Either I'm
Mm,
going sometimes we like to cast a shadow on the person who said it. Like immediately we like, how you gonna talk? Okay,
right.
because you da 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 da. So you can't
Right,
tell me
right.
nothing about me because da 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 da
Yes.
da. And
Ooh,
so are we discounted? We discount what they said. Like that's not true because they don't know all of
that's not
me.
true.
They don't know the
Yeah.
whole story. They don't I ain't tell them everything, so they don't know everything. So whatever they're seeing ain't really real anyway, you know?
Ooh,
But I there's just this moment as we're thinking about how sometimes our first acts, usually in the first act of a play, right? They gotta make you want to come back to see how things
mm,
resolve themselves. But in the first act, that's where conflict is introduced, right? Even with
yeah.
a troubled character, you can know that the character is troubled, but they got to do something crazy that makes you say, "My Lord!" You know what I'm saying? Any good playwright during an
Yeah.
intermission, they want the audience buzzing. Like, girl,
Yes.
did you see, child? I don't know how they gonna get out of this. There's always some circumstance where we're like,
Yeah.
I don't know how the main character is going to push through all the obstacles, is going to
Mm,
overcome all the challenges and all of the burdens and all of the things. I don't know how they're going to make it through, right? And so
yeah.
what I'm hearing from your story is that in everything that you went through, you got to a point in your first act where the Lord started laying before you, okay, here's what you've been trying to cover up. Here's
Mm,
the real narrative that you're trying
yeah.
to ignore, the things that you are avoiding bringing to me, that you're avoiding
Mm,
healing, because I think a lot of times people think that the process of healing is easing the pain, right? That I'm going to heal and it's going to ease the pain
yeah.
that I feel. But a
Oof.
lot of the work of healing is confronting the pain
Yeah.
and then
Some hard
surrendering it. You
Yeah.
said it's what?
Ooh. Some hard truths,
Yeah,
confronting the hard truths.
it's
Yeah.
it, it's confronting the hard truths and then
Yeah.
allowing the wisdom and the counsel and the love and the grace and the mercy of God to minister to those areas of your life. It is not
Yeah.
Healing is not, I'm going to lessen what I felt, or I'm going to
Wow.
lessen what I've experienced. It is,
Yeah.
I'm going to completely allow God in to those doors that
Yeah.
I thought I locked. I'm going to
Mm,
let them in right in the places where I know it hurts the most.
mm,
Those are the beginning processes of healing. And it always starts with a level of revelation, because
mm.
eventually you are going to have to tell yourself the truth. You are
Right.
going to have to sit in in some hard truths. I'm thinking of Job, right? I'm thinking
Mm,
of Job, who, after all that man went through, I mean, that man went through, right?
yeah.
Satan was
Yeah.
on him, right? First the children gone, then the animals gone, his houses,
Yeah.
all his stuff gone, except for a
Mm,
woman who don't understand him no more. Right? A
right.
woman who don't know how to comfort and counsel and lead and guide him anymore. A woman who's hurting. And Job is sitting covered in
Mm,
boils, right? And for
mm.
37 chapters, he toils with the state of where he's at. He toils with
Gee.
his friends, in conversations with people about the
Mm,
state of his life, of where he is, of not understanding. He toils with not understanding how life ended up. And it wasn't
mm,
until the Lord entered the scene, right? He had one
mm.
friend who started introducing him, hey, you're not looking at this right. And after that
Yeah.
friend opened the door, the Lord came rushing in and said, Job, let me lay out some truths before you
Yeah.
real quick, because I need to combat what the thing that's in you that tried to overcome what I put in you. I need to come against that. I got to come against the pride. I got to come against the self
Yeah.
righteousness. I got to come against the I should, I need, I got to come against the I in order to get you to the me. And so
Come on.
there is just a point in our lives where you feel like everything is coming against you. And some of you may have feel like people start putting your business in the streets, right? This
Mm,
man went and told your mama your business.
yeah.
That's so disrespectful to
Yeah.
bring parents in. Who told you to bring in parents? Hi, Miss Myrtle. I love you so much. I just want to say that. Love and appreciate you, you know. But why you telling my business? But you know, but that was honestly probably the most loving thing he did for you in that relationship. I don't know that relationship. I don't know nothing
Yes.
about that young man.
Yes.
I pray he's well. But that was probably the most loving thing, because
Yes.
it forced you to a place where you could not ignore what God wanted to take care of in you anymore.
Mm,
Right. All right. So
yes.
we get through the breakup. Now we've had
Yeah.
talks, honest conversations about life
Yes.
and self.
Yeah.
And I wanna start moving into the pivot point, right?
Yeah.
And
Let's
thinking
do it.
and thinking through what intermission looked like for
Mm,
you, right? As we kind of
yeah.
started moving out of darkness, then
Yeah.
revelation, and now we're
Mhm.
we're being pulled to a place. Talk about the
Yeah.
pulling.
Ooh. The pulling is so good.
Mhm.
After the heartbreak, I ran to Florida. And I couldn't find any peace in Florida. And I remember having a moment, and I was walking down one of the streets in Florida, just thinking about. I just kept having this thought that I need to get back to South Carolina. I have to go back to South Carolina. The
Wow.
thought just wouldn't leave my mind that I have to get back to South Carolina.
Mhm.
And so one day I didn't have, the best day at work, and I decided to um apply to a job. Well, I went home and I said, if there's a job in South Carolina that I know that I can take, I'm moving back to South Carolina.
Mm.
And you talk about the glimpses. And I mean, it's like I immediately pull up my laptop and I find a job. Like everything that I want to do, everything that I need, the increase that I needed financially,
Come
all
on
of
here,
it. All
increase.
of it. Increase,
Yes.
okay? We decided, oh my gosh, yes. Anyway, so there was a pulling back to South Carolina. And so one thing I
Mm.
realized in that is I was trying to run from a thing that I still needed to confront. It wasn't like just because I moved to Florida that the baggage wasn't still there. I talked about the laundry pile, and we talked about trying to avoid a thing. That pile was still there. At some point you gotta clean the clothes, right? And
Yeah.
so getting back to South Carolina is when the pivot happened. And so I met Jaquita in that role, and another and another
Youngest,
friend,
another youngest.
another youngin. Shout out to him. Shout out to him. So, um, but there was a lot of friction. There was like love, but also friction, because there
Mm.
was some light in them that was that was again exposing, right? And
Mm.
what was in me wasn't ready to comprehend what was in them.
Wow, my lord.
Oh
But we comprehended
man.
what was in you.
Ooh.
But keep going.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And you were talking about Joe, and this is why it's so important. Again, we talk, everything is connected. That's why it's so important. The people around you. There has to be people speaking life into you, because although there were times and moments of friction because I wasn't ready to comprehend, like you said, y'all comprehended and saw things that were in me that I didn't even see, right? And so you knew what needed to come out and what I needed more of. And oh my goodness. Um, and so the pivot happened in moving back to South Carolina and literally having no other choice but to sit in a space where there was no more hiding from the light, right? It was now I have to come
Yeah.
towards God, right? Because what I was doing wasn't working. It wasn't working out for me. It kept leading me in a cycle of trying to belong, and I kept going home, and I'm like, I'm so miserable. I'm so miserable here in this space. Um but it was allowing myself to confront, all of the things that I kept trying to avoid, where the pulling happened and the pivoting happened, because again, I just kept saying to myself, it ain't working. What Michaela has planned for herself isn't working. And so I need to submit
Wow.
to a new will that is laid out for me, because my plan has only led to destruction of my mind, body, and soul. And I needed a plan that was going
Lord.
to give me life. I needed a plan of life. And so,
Okay, so
yes.
we're headed towards life. And
Yeah.
so you're in this moment, and I know
Yes.
you said that you couldn't comprehend, but what I know and what I believe is that what is inside of you
Mm,
recognize the
mm,
affinity to what was inside of us. And
yeah.
the war was who you were and who you were becoming. And it wasn't
Mm.
you embracing us, it was you embracing you. Um,
Ooh,
and
it's
it was
good.
it would be so funny because me and Michaela, and our friend, we would sit down and we would have these conversations, and Michaela would always
Yeah.
leave early. Michaela would be like, "Ooh, child, I gotta go."
They did a lot
I gotta
today.
go. We have no time for you. um, but every single time, we used to cut up. We used to say,
Yes.
it was Word Wednesdays because every
Word
Wednesday the Lord
Wednesday.
would come through. Okay, and he would every
Yes.
Wednesday the Lord be like, I got something to
Yes.
say. And but
Oh
there was
man.
something in your backstage moment, right? In your
Mm,
in your intermission, right? There was
mm,
this secret tug of war where it
yeah.
was
Woo.
God uprooting some things, but there was so much planting happening, right? The Lord didn't take
Yeah.
away anything that he didn't replace. He didn't
Mm,
take away anything that he didn't give you more back for, and so
yeah.
as God was moving you away from some things, slowly but surely,
Yeah.
slowly is
Yeah.
a relative word because y'all within like 6 months, Michaela was a completely different person. Okay, and we'll talk about it in a moment. So slowly is relative. Okay, it was like I think you and I started working. You started in February. I started in March. And by
March.
December, I think, by March, but no, but what I'm thinking is by the time we came back from Christmas break, I was like, this is a brand new woman. Like, this is a whole new person. Like, I remember having some conversations with you in December, and we were all about to go home for Christmas. And then we came
Mhm.
back, and I was like, Michaela is brand spanking new, like in a real and lasting way.
Yes. Ooh,
And I
yes.
was ecstatic about it. But when we think
Yeah.
about, what backstage looks like,
Mm,
there has to be a moment where a character has to decide to take off
mm,
act one,
yeah.
where you have to
Yeah.
decide that who I've been is not going to
Mm,
be enough for who I have to become in order to
it's so good.
conquer, in order to have victory, in order to
Yeah.
triumph, right? What was
Yeah.
that what was that decision making process like for you
Yeah.
as you were thinking about what to keep, what to give away?
Yeah. My intermission was a lot of reflection. Oh my goodness.
Mm,
I remember realizing that I had influence. I remember realizing that, and I remember thinking, if if where I'm at, I'm masking, what am I going to influence? I'm going to influence
Mm,
masking. I remember thinking
mm,
um that there are so many people who look to me, people in general, we look to people for advice and things, and I remember that I remember feeling that my life was a lie. It wasn't. In my
mm.
reflection, I realized that I had nothing authentic to give that would truly help someone, because it wasn't helping me. Nothing was helping me. And
Wow.
so my inner mission in the time of reflection, I knew that I saw some real authentic joy and peace in our friend, our friend from work. And I remember asking him, "What do you do when you get home? What does life look like for you when you're at home, when you're away from
Mhm.
the hustle and bustle of work?" And because a lot of us in our early 20s were just drinking and smoking and partying. The culture was that this is how we unwind, this is how we um this is how we relax from the day, you know. But what
Yeah.
I saw in them was also what I saw in me, and I said, this isn't working.
Yeah.
It's not. I'm reflecting on myself, but I'm also reflecting on my surroundings. And I'm realizing that the real true joy was coming from the life that I wasn't ready to comprehend, because I didn't
Mm.
want to. I just didn't want to, right? But
Yeah.
at some point you get tired, right? You get tired of masking, you get tired of living the lie, and you also want to live a life that is truthful not only to yourself but for the people who look to you, right? And
Yeah.
so I remember going to him one day and I asked him, "What does life look like for you at home?" And he said, "I'm just at peace." I said, "What do you do?" Like, you don't go to the store and pick up a bottle of wine like the rest of us. You don't. He said,
Wow.
"No." He said, "No, a lot of the time
Absolutely
I'm
not.
absolutely not." Okay.
Absolutely not. Not uh-uh.
The rest of
Sorry, y'all.
us are
I'm
at,
thinking about our friend. Uh-huh.
um and
Uh-huh.
he told
Uh-huh.
me that he was most of the time is spent reading the word and spending time with God and in prayer. And I'm like, this man is crazy.
And that's also, I just want to clarify, uh it is also the truth. Like, he ain't putting on. Like,
He's not.
that's really what he is. The only person I know who will reference 3 scriptures in a normal conversation. He would, and chapter and verse. Chapter
Chapter
and
and
verse, okay?
verse. And I mean, it's on
Chapter
point,
and verse.
okay? And reciting the
Listen.
whole thing, okay? KJV, okay?
Yeah. KJV. KJV, huh? Okay, listen. And we ain't gonna put him out in the streets, but I cannot wait to tell him that I joked about him online. That's gonna make my whole day. Uh-huh.
Yes. And so, I just couldn't fathom that. I could not fathom that there was joy and peace in reading, you know? But I didn't understand. I didn't understand at the time that the word is alive and it's breathing,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah,
literally the breath of God, right?
yeah,
That gives life. I couldn't understand that he had so much life and peace because God is.
yeah.
I'm
My
getting
Lord.
happy. I'm getting
I
happy.
told y'all we was gonna get churchy. I'm trying to tell y'all. Yeah.
um And so intermission and going into this act two was the point of reflection into, let me seek out where I saw the real thing. I want the real thing. I want more
Mm,
of that. I want to know that. I want to
yeah,
feel that. I want to experience it for real. I'm tired of faking it.
yeah,
Like you said, I don't want healing to just be soft anymore and what it's put out and
yeah,
made to be, that it's just this highlighters with your Bible and like, no, I wanted the real thing, you know? Um
yeah,
and so that's what he exposed me to. And I went
yeah.
full force. Full force.
Okay, because wait a minute. And when I tell y'all, I have seen a lot of people accept God, accept Christ, come to the church. I have never seen the absolute 180 like how
Mm.
Michaela made it. Like I'm telling y'all, before there's a in my mind, there's a before Christmas break Michaela and an after Christmas break Michaela. Okay. Cause that girl came back in the new year. Okay, and she was I serve the Lord. I'ma serve him until I die. Okay. And I mean a complete 180. And there are people who during their intermissions they come out slow. Right. They come into their
Mm.
second act and they come in slow, right? They come in tiptoeing. They come in saying, "Hey, everybody,
Yeah.
I made some changes. I have more to
Mm.
make. I just want to
Mm.
let y'all know that that is not how Michaela. That curtain, the Lord lifted that curtain on on Michaela, and it was just like how it happened with my hand. It was now you see me, now you don't. All you see is the glory of God, right? Like it was,
Yeah.
it was swift, but it
Mm.
was and
Yeah.
and I think that there's power in that because even in everything that you shared in your story, you know, anybody would have thought she could have got stuck. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? She could have
Yeah.
been left where she was, right? But there is such a redemptive power to the fact that all you literally had to do was say yes. You
Yeah.
literally said you gave God a
Mm.
full and complete yes, and he took it from there
Mm.
and
Mm.
completely
Yeah.
turned your life around. Now I'm
Yes.
interested
Yeah.
because I remember because when you came back to me, I was like, "Let's
Mhm.
go." I first of all, I've been telling her this. Okay. Me
Yeah.
and our friend, we've been telling, and some other friends. We got another friend we
Yeah.
ain't talked about yet. We about to talk about him in a moment, okay? Because we gotta talk about how the Lord did a complete. I'm trying to tell y'all it was complete,
Dang.
okay? I'm trying to tell y'all it was a full testimony turnaround, okay? And I want to talk about it, right?
Yes.
But you know what I'm saying? Like there were all of these people who were speaking, who were guiding, who were reflecting to you who God was trying to show you that you really were, right? Your
Mm.
intermission, and I'm sorry, I'm writing your story and telling your story, but
No, this
I
is
just feel
good.
it. Can I go? Can I move? Can I move with it?
Tell it.
How I
Come
want to
on,
move with
move.
it?
Let's move. Let's
Okay.
move.
But your intermission, you literally went backstage and you really can't change properly without a mirror. You have to go and you literally God showed you taking it off and
Mm.
standing bare before the Lord and saying, "God, this is all I have.
Mm.
I'm presenting to you who I am and what I have. This is it. This all I got." And God
Yeah.
coming in like he did, I think it's in Zechariah. And God coming
Mm.
in and saying, give he was talking to the priest Joshua, and he said,
Mm.
"Give this man a new robe, for this is a brand
Mm.
that has been tried in the fire." You came
Ooh.
out, you surrendered, you said yes,
Yeah.
and God took off your old clothes that had been through all the fire, that had been through all the struggle, that had been through all the pain. And it was a
Mm.
complete and full testimony turnaround because God Himself robed you. God
Yeah.
Himself gave you your identity. You know, he
Yeah.
used people to reflect it to you, to say, Michaela,
Right.
this is who you really are. This is how you get
Yeah.
to your place of authentic joy and authentic peace.
Yeah.
This is how you find life and light. This is
Mhm.
the way. He gave you people who reflected to you, but
Mhm.
it wasn't until you stood in the mirror for yourself and said, Lord, I want to put on what you've shown
Ooh.
me. I don't want to
Yeah.
carry what I've carried through previous seasons. I want to put on
Mm.
what you have shown me. And when I
Yes.
tell you she
Yeah.
came back and she didn't look like smoke, when
Come
I
on.
tell you to the point where it made everybody's head was on a swivel, right? Everybody said, "Is that is that
Who
is that
is
Michaela?
that?
Where my turn up friend? Right? Where my girl at? Right? Michaela came
Yeah.
back and said, Hallelujah, thine the glory." Right? Like she came back fully immersed,
Yeah.
but I think that there's power in knowing that what we've been waiting on, with
Mm.
all of the change you've been waiting on in your life, all of the promotion you've been waiting on, all of the questions of who am I, the identity questions, all of those things have simply been waiting on your yes. It's
Mm.
simply been
Yeah.
waiting on your surrender, right? Okay, all
Yeah.
right. I'm done
Yeah.
telling your story. I apologize. It got good to me.
No, that's
Okay.
good. That's
It
good.
got good to me. Okay. The imagery was just, it was too much for me, girl. I had to get in there.
Woo.
But you made this turnaround. You went through your intermission period and you went
Mhm.
back, and during that time you made some important decisions, which included,
Mm.
what were those important decisions that you made backstage?
Yeah. Um, I knew
I'm
there
not
were
pointing
things
to
that I
anything
needed.
in particular, by the way.
I know. I know.
Hmm.
I know. I knew there were things that I needed to let go of, mindsets, behaviors, um, organizations, because God was trying to make me new.
Yes.
And in order to be new and, like you said, refined, I couldn't be who Michaela tried to make herself be. I
Yeah.
couldn't, I could not be that anymore because it was not working. It didn't work. And I couldn't even fit there anymore. I was so
My Lord.
uncomfortable. I was so
Yeah.
uncomfortable. Like you said, God is a consuming fire. It was bubbling up inside me that I would be in a space that I was prior to knowing God and experiencing Him for myself, and I literally could not fit. I couldn't fit where I wanted to fit before, and I felt like I needed to be so badly before. I could not fit. It
Mm.
it didn't
Yeah.
even work.
Yeah.
Um, and so, oh my gosh, I remember coming home and I'm throwing alcohol bottles away. I used to vape really a lot, and I'm throwing it away. It had to go. It had to
Hmm.
go. Everything had to go. Jaquita ever saw me one day and I'm moving my bookshelf in my office.
Child. Ooh wee.
Everything
Lord.
had to be shifted. Everything. And
Yeah.
I had uh so I used to be a member of Delta Sigma Theta sorority, and I remember there were like elephants everywhere in my apartment, and there was just like big posters of me with like Delta everything. I'm taking them down and I'm just throwing it out. I'm throwing everything
Hmm.
out because all of it was um me realizing that Michaela has to true like you said, truly surrender. I wanted to surrender
Hmm.
everything, even my home, my office. Everything had to be surrendered to God, and for Him to be the potter, not even just to make me, but
Ooh.
for every single space to be made by Him. It I had to steward it so well that it was unto Him. And I even I realized that, like, I was getting rid of stuff and God was providing. We got that email We got an email that was like, "Oh yeah, everybody getting a little increase." I said, "Look at that."
Child, while you were shifting, we was in them directors meetings like, let's give them some money. Ain't that something?
Like, God is so good, and even the timing of
Yeah.
everything. So I'm getting rid of things, and I'm not even worried about the cost because I knew God was going to provide, and He did. And so I was able to make my home and clean more. I started realizing there was spots on the walls that I was like, I got to get that. Let me. I'm
Come
like
on, without
cleaning up
spot or
everything
wrinkle. I love
without
it.
spot or wrinkle. Everything had
Yes.
to be clean, gifted, and done unto God. Everything. And I just realized that um it was so much lighter. It was so much
Yeah.
lighter. I was carrying less stuff physically and spiritually. I was
Girl, let
carrying
me tell
so
you
much.
something. Let me tell you something. For somebody who's looking for a shift in their life, you need to do just that. You need to clean house.
Woo,
You need to
woo.
clean house. You need to take down
Yes.
the old pictures, take down the old affiliations. You need to vacuum. You need to go through the clothes. And
Clean it
what
up.
doesn't fit the season you trying to walk into, throw it out, give it away, burn it, do what you
Woo.
got to do. But if
Yes.
it does not
Yes.
fit the story that God is writing for you, right? Because there's a
Yeah.
story we wrote for ourselves that when we
Yeah.
reflect on that, we're like, okay, that's not, I was trying to define myself one way, but this is who God is telling me that I am. And the story that
Yeah.
God is writing for me in the second act, amen.
Mm.
I need to make
Come
sure
on.
I'm dressed appropriately. I need to make
Come
sure that
on.
I'm speaking appropriately. I need to make sure that
Yes.
I look like what God is writing for me, right? And so for
Woo.
some of us, I'm sorry, I just feel it to say some of us, which Michaela, I hope she talked to us about a little bit about. Some of us are the Lord has written wife for your second act.
Come
See, I'm
on.
writing it down now for myself because I wanted the Lord to see that let it be written, let it be so.
Come
Amen.
on.
But you see that written, you see husband written, you see mother written,
Mm.
you see father written. Take
Yeah.
inventory. Take inventory.
Yes.
Does your life, does it reflect what God has written? You see it written, but you're not reflecting it. And so what
Yeah.
Michaela saw was God wrote something for me, and I need my life to
Mm.
reflect what God wrote about me, what God
Yes.
said about me. That's how you move.
Yeah.
That's how you move into
Yes.
your second act. And that's why she
Yes.
was able to move so quickly because she
So
didn't hold
quickly.
anything back from God.
Yes, because
Girl,
a lot of times we want the things that God has for us, but there's no room for him when we've consumed it with all of our own stuff.
my
We
Lord.
like we consume it with all of our own stuff. It was just plain as day to me that you have got to let him make you and everything around you new.
Yeah,
Everything.
everything.
everything had everything had to be new. And so yeah, I remember I just kept saying, "Thy will be done. Thy will." I don't. Nevertheless, Thy will be done. I want His will for me because it mine was not working. It wasn't working.
Girl, that's so good. That's so good.
Mm.
Okay, Michaela. So we've walked through your intermission. We walked through your first act. We walked through your intermission. When you see the curtain raising on your second act, what's on your stage?
Yes. Um, the second act is one, me having more clarity of purpose. It's a sound mind. I'm not carrying heaviness anymore and
Mhm.
weights that aren't even mine. It's understanding how to intercede for those weights. And it's not just this like misery loves company anymore. It's like I'm seeing a weight and I'm helping you see who God has called you to be and that you don't have to carry those weights anymore. So it's truly understanding who I am, and it's like who you and our friend was to me. I get to be that now. It's a beautiful like
Yes.
um that has happened. So along that line of surrendering, God continues to show me that sometimes people think, oh, you know Jesus and that's it, but there's always so much more of him that he wants us to experience. We can't even
Yeah.
fathom how big, how great, how consuming he is, and the connection that we can have with him. And
Yeah.
I remember for my 27th birthday, I turned 27 on the 27th.
Oh my
Like
gosh. So
a
cute.
half ago. And I remember saying, this birthday is going to be unto God. I'm going to fast going into it, and we're going to pray going into it.
And
And
we
so
had worship.
we had worship. And so I
Yes.
invited and some other women of God, and we just got together and we prayed. And God actually used Jaquita because she spoke some things in her prayer that I knew I had, that I was like, oh, I'm getting ready to walk into a thing. Okay. And
Mm.
so God literally, like I said, I was a member of an organization, and I lost so much like sisterhood, and that hurt me. It really did. And not even out of my own doing, but it just happened and it
Yeah.
hurt me. But that night, God showed me, I have given you more.
Yeah.
Woo! I have replaced what you thought you lost, and it's more.
My
It, it's
Lord.
it's so
Yeah.
much more, because it's
Yeah.
not encouraging you to do things that keep a heavy weight on you or that keep you in depression, but it's lighter and it's speaking life into you. And when there's correction, it's because I love you. Oh my goodness, it was wonderful. But anyway,
Yeah.
Jaquita spoke a thing. God, the Lord used her to speak some things, and so I knew I was getting ready to walk into a season. And so my birthday was March 27th, and of what year was that? 2023. March
My
27th of
Lord. Yeah.
was
Was it
I
23 or
really
24?
it was 24. It was 24. It
Yeah.
was 24. And yes, okay, yes. This was last year.
I'm trying to tell
And
y'all.
it's crazy. And by June, June, I had met my husband.
I'm trying to tell y'all. I keep
It
trying to
happened
tell y'all.
so fast. It happened so
Yeah.
fast. But God started, and God really showed me what life was going to be like with him.
Yeah.
And even before him and I even talked about it, and talked about, our feelings and how we felt. And um like we said, it happened so swiftly. Like, he showed me that I was going to be a wife. He showed me what it was like to keep a home and to do work heartily unto him, and how to
Yeah.
pray and intercede for other people, just like how it would be in a marriage. I had to learn long suffering prior to marriage, and I had to learn that
Mm.
love is love
Ooh-wee.
in all spaces, in all seasons. And he taught me to be a servant.
Michaela Hope.
Even at work, he taught me to be a servant. That just because
Mhm.
nobody else want to take out the trash or whatever the case may be, you do it. You do it, because you never know what somebody may be carrying, or even the fact that they don't see it, and it may be confusing to other people, but you do it because I have called you to be a servant. And he has showed me what that
Yes.
servant, he's is great in the kingdom, right? Exactly what Jesus did for
Yeah.
us is asking for us to do with other people. And in marriage,
Greater
um
works. Yeah.
right, yes. And so it's like I became his bride, and he was preparing me to be a bride. The oh my gosh. And it happened so quickly. Here we are now, and I'm what, like, well, I think we 5 months into marriage now. Like a
Let
whole
me tell you
wife.
something. And a beautiful Holy Ghost filled ceremony, and to a man that love the Lord, okay,
Yes.
love him. Okay, I think that's the first time. I think one time I had to call Paul and he didn't answer, and I heard his voicemail and I cracked up because it was like, hallelujah, thank you, Jesus. I was just like, this boy is so deep in Jesus, steeped in the Lord, okay, in the Holy
Yes.
Ghost. And when you think about how God navigated, I tell people all the time, God does not compartmentalize our lives, right?
Mm,
And then God taking you through your reflective healing journey and you surrendering in that,
yes.
like he was already preparing something. In one
Mm,
hand, he was molding and shaping and shifting
mm,
you, and in the other hand,
mm,
he had what he had prepared for you. And God was about to
mm.
make his two hands meet. He was going to make what he was doing in his left hand meet what he was doing in his right hand, and he was going to join something together.
So good.
And I'm just telling you, I felt like had a front row seat. I felt like I was just sitting there with my popcorn, like, God, you really? Even I was sitting there like, I was like, Lord, I didn't even know you could do it like this. Like, y'all, I met Michaela in 2022. Okay. I've known Michaela for about 3.5 years. And 3.5 years later, Michaela went from, unsure, just kind of, I would say, I don't want to be offensive, but I would use the word kind of aimless, like,
Yes.
trying to find herself, trying to figure things out, but so heavy with potential, so
Mm,
heavy. I mean,
mm.
who what was on the inside of her was so heavy. It was like
Ooh,
anybody with an eye could see. We couldn't ignore it. We couldn't
mm.
pass by it. I could not act like
Jesus.
all of this gifting and anointing and just the love of God wasn't sitting there in front of me. I had to I had to be close to this. I
Yeah.
had to be near, but in seeing her move from that to just woman of God,
Mm,
securing who she was, making really, really, really hard decisions, and
yeah.
having to stand in her truth when people
Yeah.
who knew her former could not
Yeah.
comprehend her present, right? But
Yeah.
still having to walk sure, having to have um character and integrity in the midst of it, right?
Yeah.
That even though God was doing all this work in her, humility,
Yeah.
I watched her walk through all of that. And so when it got to the point where the blessings started pouring in, and then there was
Mm,
a boyfriend who became a husband, who became, you know what I'm saying? And then when it was, God is shifting this in your life and shifting that in your life, and the blessings came, there was never a moment where I didn't think to myself, she deserves every bit of God's love and his
mm,
grace and his goodness toward her, because I
mm,
knew that God had finally gotten to the point where he had unearthed that well that was inside of you. And it was
mm.
simply bubbling up, and everything that God had for you, it became
Mm.
present. It
Yeah.
became present. It's God moved what was in your past. He was moving that further from you, but he was
Yeah.
moving what was in your future. He was moving that closer.
Yeah.
And you allowed yourself to stay in the hand of God long enough, and securely enough and true enough to receive everything that God had for you. Michaela,
Yeah.
I want you, because I know this might be the only time I get the young adult audience. Okay. This might be the only time, okay, that my 18 to 30 audience is gonna shoot up through the roof, because Michaela carries a grace for them. She carries an anointing. I used to. I still do sometimes. But I'm
You
telling y'all,
do.
when I found Michaela, I said, I'm a mentor now. I mentor these people who do the work. When I moved into my middle adult years, I said, I'm here for the Michaelas. Okay.
Yeah.
But I know that you have an anointing and a grace on your life for that
Mm,
population. And if there's anything that you can say to them as they are walking through and navigating through their first act, and God is setting the scene for them to pivot in an intermission, what encouragement, what things could you give to them that they can have the endurance, the faith, and the persistence that you did to make it through that point to get to the place where God can raise the curtain in their lives?
yes. The first thing that comes to mind is surrender. And in surrender, it's knowing that the places that you're trying to fit and that void that you're trying to fill, it's never going to work. It's constantly going to be this trying to shift to fit people who are fleeting. It's constant. So it's the
Wow.
knowledge of that. First, it's the knowledge of that. And when you come to acceptance of that, what I would say, I was over here pulling up a scripture, and I pull it up, Matthew 11:28, and Jesus said, "Come to me, all of you who are weary and carry heavy burdens, and I will
Yeah.
give you rest. Take my
My
yoke
Lord.
upon
Yeah.
you and let me teach you, because I am humble and gentle at heart, and you will find rest for your souls. His yoke is easy to bear, and his burden is light." That's the best piece of advice. That's the best thing that happened to me, is that I found rest in Jesus. I truly found rest. There was no more carrying weights. There was no more of this heaviness that I felt. Are there moments still of sadness? Yes, but sadness doesn't reach depression, right? Like there's nothing that I'm carrying that I feel that I have to carry alone anymore. And a lot of times when we deal with things, when we're in seasons in our life, we feel that we have to carry things alone. But Jesus says, "Come unto me, and I will give you rest." He wants us to bring every single thing we have to Him. And so at that moment of reflection, at that moment of I am so tired, and my plan for my life is getting me nothing but trying to fit a mold that other people have tried to conform me into, including myself, we have to surrender it all to God and let Him be the potter of our life, so that we can find rest for our weary souls.
My Lord, y'all. Well, friends, listen, that was the last
Amen.
curtain call of an
Amen.
amazing, amazing testimony. Michaela, thank you so much for agreeing to be on the podcast. Um, is there anything that you want to let the people know that you're doing right now, working on right now?
Yes. Yes, this is so good. I love that you said, at the curtain call there's a mirror. So I just started a Substack, and I've been writing on Substack, and
Yay!
yes, writing has always been a passion of mine. And now I'm truly just walking into it. And so my name on Substack is What the Mirror Found, and it's a whole lot of reflection, and right.
But Kayla, I've read like some of the stuff you wrote, but I promise I did not know the title of it. Wow.
Yes, what the mirror found, and it's truly just this space of authentic reflection in hopes for healing and to lean um into God a little more. And so follow my Substack, share and like and subscribe, and tell me your thoughts. That would be amazing. And I'm just leaning into that a little more, like writing and poetry, because I know God has a lot in store for that, and what all that will be. He has shown me what that will become, and so I'm excited to walk into that. But for now, it's Substack, and yes, I'm excited about it. I'm super excited about it.
Yay. Okay, we will put a link for that in the description
Yes.
below. Make sure you go check that out, friends. Listen, okay, y'all, it was a lot. We gave y'all a lot today. Okay, take it bit by bit, piece by piece. But if you are not subscribed to the channel yet, what are you doing? Okay, I need you to like, I need you to share, I need you to subscribe, because God is truly doing something really, really amazing, not just with this segment, but with the whole UnLearnT podcast platform. We have so many great things in store for you guys. Don't be afraid to become a part of the community. Don't be afraid to reach out, talk to us. We want to engage with you in the comments. All right. Well, friends, listen, this has been good. This has been good. This has been good. I want to tell each and every one of you, okay, you do not have to stay stuck in your intermission. You can move forward
Mm,
and raise the curtain to your
yes, you
second act.
can.
We will see
Yeah.
you guys next time. Bye, friends.
Bye.